Hi dancers! Welcome to this surprise chat, super informal, trying to shift some things. Usually I hop on stories and I chat about this week's blog post, but I was thinking, you know what, let me do this as a live just to trial something new and we'll see how it goes. And if you guys like it, then we'll continue. I'm also making a snack for myself at the same time. I ate lunch super early today because I'm usually up early with the kids by like 6 a.m. So by the time I have breakfast at 6 a.m., I usually have lunch closer to like 10:30. I know it's really early. So I'm doing a snack right now. So I'm gonna have this, make this while we chat. Before I get into information about this week's blog post, which is a super important topic, just a couple logistical things. So the TTP Ambassador Program, as you know, applications have been closed for a couple of weeks, and this is because I set aside this time to really review all of the applications, and there's always a lot, so it takes some time. But the good news is that as of last night, I've actually gone through all of the applications, and I've got a couple lists separated in regards to who I feel might be a really great fit for this program, and so forth. So I'm going to be starting to contact the first batch. I have to separate out into batches because there's many dancers who I want to talk to about the program and kind of see really before the final decisions are made whether or not they'd be a great fit for the program. So that's gonna probably start later today. So just kind of be on the lookout. If you applied, you might hear from me today. Everyone's going to hear from me even if you have not been accepted into the program, so don't worry. I even have a fun little surprise for every dancer who applies, including those who are not eventually accepted into the program. So just always be on the lookout, but this is going to be happening for the next couple of weeks. The actual program doesn't even happen until, it doesn't kickstart until the end of the month, closer to beginning of February. So I'm doing some toast with almond butter. It's my usual go-to because I find it to be extremely satisfying. Another really satisfying thing that I find, I don't know about you guys, is opening up a new jar of nut butter. This is a brand new jar, so I'm like really excited. It's super satisfying. So yeah, that's the updates for the TTP Ambassador Program. Just be on the lookout. If you applied, if you missed the application process, you're gonna have to wait a whole year for the next one because the program is a year-long program and it happens every, it happens every December is when I look for new applicants. So be on the lookout for that. Hold on, let me take this out. Give me a second here. What else can I chat about while I'm making this snack? Free workshop. That's happening first week of February, the Healthy Dancer. So as you know, if you've been following me, you know that I am shifting all of my programs and services that I host throughout the year. There's about 7 of them in total. I'm shifting it all to a membership program, which I've been working on for at least like 7 months. I've been working on this membership program and I'm finally starting to see it come to life with my website developer, so it's really exciting. Probably launching it at the end of this month, which means that February 1st is the first free workshop where you can learn more about this program. So stay tuned. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna get started in like 2 minutes. I just have to finish making this snack, then we'll head into my office and we'll get started. But this is new. This is just an informal chat that I've decided to host today. It's also a total surprise. I'm like literally dumping this almond butter out. No, I don't measure. As you know, if you've been following me, then you have a very good reason. You know why I don't measure when it comes to serving sizes and so forth. I've also, over many, many years of doing this work, have been able to identify an amount of food that really works well for my body. So sticking to those preset portions or servings, usually not what I'm recommending for dancers. Making a total mess of this because it's new almond butter, which means that it's like really liquidy. Okay, I'm gonna like clean up this mess after this live, so just give me 1 second here. And then we'll head into my office. I kind of like this informal chat. but I'm sorry if it's a little bit shaky. I'm doing 100 things at the same time. Okay. Clean up a little bit of this. Hi everybody, thanks for joining. In just a minute, I'm going to start talking about this week's blog post. This is a little bit different than my usual. Usually I chat about the week's updates and blog on my stories, but I wanted to change things up this week and actually try with a live, like a really informal one. This is not part of Conversations with the Pros. This is just me chatting with you. All right, let's bring this to my office. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me through the beginning of this. Hold on, I'm gonna get, all right. Here we are. It's like really awkward holding the phone. My daughter's napping, so it's the only reason why I'm able to do this. My son's in school. All right, here we go. Bam. We're ready. We're in my office, which means, sorry, I still made a mess. We're ready to chat about the orthorexic identity. That's what I dedicated my blog to this week, which, by the way, has been in my drafts for at least 8 months. I really needed to gather my thoughts on this topic. It's a topic that so many dancers struggle with, especially for those dancers who are just starting out in the work of really rebuilding their relationships with food. So perhaps dancers who have just initially contacted me and are only just now starting my program, The Healthy Dancer. One of the most common challenges that these dancers will face is dismantling this identity that has been built around disordered eating habits, or of course, obsessive exercise routines. So what is the orthorexic identity? It's essentially that. It's when we feel like we've built an identity that's so wrapped around these very regimented and restrictive behaviors. And that identity, depending on how long it's been that you've struggled with disordered eating, that identity can feel almost like a comfort and security for many dancers. So the idea of losing that identity and working to overcome that supposed identity can feel very scary for so many dancers. And the reason why this is so common amongst dancers in comparison to, I would say, the general population is because unfortunately, so many dancers are infiltrated by dancer diet culture at a very young age. So in other words, dancers will hear messages about having to attain unrealistic body ideals or have to partake in what unfortunately is very normalized in our culture to be disordered eating habits, whether that's restricting calories or maybe just being super cautious around foods and quote unquote mindful around foods. That's where we see the orthorexia part of this come in, that obsession with needing to eat right or needing to eat healthy in order to perfect one's performance. I speak on the topic of orthorexia a lot amongst dancers, and if you want to learn more about this, then just search on my blog, Disordered Eating, and you'll find an entire blog post about it. But what happens when a dancer is really struggling in their early stages of healing their relationship with food is this idea that so much of what they built in their lives is centered around the restrictive or very regimented patterns from disordered eating. And that can be extremely challenging. So in this week's blog post, not only am I talking a little bit more about what the orthorexic identity is and how it can feel for a dancer, but also a few actionable tips on how you can begin to work to overcome that identity so that, and this is a true, can't be more important fact for you to understand, is that you are not identified by your disordered eating, or if you have been diagnosed with an eating disorder, that is not indeed your identity. You are so much more than those disordered eating behaviors, than those restrictive behaviors. Sure, disordered eating might play a role in your life, but it's not the entirety of your life, right? It's not your full story. So we need to learn how to separate those behaviors from yourself in order to better hone in on those behaviors so that we can start to dismantle them and navigate and work through them in order to really heal our relationships with food and even with movement, with dance in general. So like if you're feeling like you're on the brink of burnout as a dancer, struggling to really get into the studio and sorry, my voice is shot because, side note, we had my son's 6th birthday this past weekend. There wasn't much unfortunate supervision at the place that we had it at, and my husband and I were essentially trying to gather like 36-year-old boys for 2 hours, so we both our voices are shot, but that's a separate thing. Anyway, back to the orthorexic identity. If you are really struggling to regain that love or passion that you've had for dance, then you could be closer to that experience of burnout. And it really helps to start to reflect. This is where journaling can be super helpful for dancers. Reflect, how is your relationship with both food and dance? How is it evolving? Is it becoming restrictive? Obviously, the longer it's been that you've been partaking in disordered eating habits or restrictive eating or exhaustive exercise routines, then the more comforted and secure, I mentioned this earlier, you will likely feel in those behaviors, and therefore the harder they are to overcome. But it is obviously important to work to overcome them, because what those behaviors eventually can lead to is injury, burnout, and of course, a host of negative implications on your ultimate dance performance. So I'm just gonna take a look at my blog post to see what else I wanted to mention here. Another aspect that I want to help you with is, because this also becomes very challenging for dancers, is responding to others. So perhaps you feel like so much of your identity has been wrapped in your restrictive eating behaviors. And by the way, those don't have to be like knowingly restrictive eating behaviors. That could be perhaps obsessively healthy eating behaviors. Again, this is the portion of where orthorexia comes into place, right? Your friends, your family, they might know you to be, quote unquote, the healthy one, or the one who does everything right. If those sound relatable and familiar, then you see where I'm going with this. All in all, we want to, throughout our journeys, right, of building more supportive habits in regards to our food choices and our cross-training and our dancing, we need to know how to navigate others and the potential for criticism. Just as an example, because this just happened with a dancer that I'm meeting with one-on-one within the Healthy Dancer Elite program. She was at a dinner with family. It wasn't the holidays, it was after the holidays. And we're obviously working on breaking a lot of fear foods and a lot of food rules. So one food rule in particular, we were able to really work on her moving past, and it meant eating out with others and trying some new choices that would be on the table. And this particular, I forgot if it was a friend or a family member, mentioned something to them like, "Oh, you want to try this? That's so not like you." And that right there, that comment, even though it was not intended to be hurtful or harmful, really had that dancer wondering and questioning, is this change not me? Like, is this change really what I should be doing? Am I losing this identity that I had built around those restrictive behaviors? Yes, but there are, again, reasons why we want to challenge that identity. So going back to the blog article, what I give you with and walk you through are just a couple common scenarios that have come up for a lot of the dancers I've worked with and continue to work with, and how you can respond to these comments, if and when, of course, you are able to, because sometimes that can be challenging in of itself, but it is super important to set those boundaries, especially within this work. So long story short, head over to this week's blog post because it's all about overcoming what I call the orthorexic identity. This is going to be most relatable for dancers who struggle with disordered eating, and as it relates to feeling like you need to always eat the right, healthy, or clean options. So if you're watching this now, if you're watching the recording that I'll share on my IGTV, and you find that extremely relatable, then please go over and read the article. You might want to start with my other blog post that really more just defines disordered eating, because maybe you are unsure if whether your behaviors are disordered. And the reason for that is because, unfortunately, so much of disordered eating is normalized and even glorified, not just in the culture at large, but even exacerbated in the dance culture. So highly recommend that you go and check that out. Yeah, I'm so happy that I finally was able to cover this. Has been, like I said, in my drafts for quite some time. And let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to chat about it. No, I think we covered everything. Thanks for joining me on this little casual live. We'll do it again probably next week. We'll chat about some new blog posts, upcoming events or dates that you want to know about. There is a Conversations with the Pros happening this Friday, so I highly encourage that you tune in. It will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so definitely tune in. And that's about it. I will talk to you all soon. This will be posted on my IGTV, so bye.